Hello folks, it's time for me to not really know what I'm doing for a little bit, because what you're seeing now is pre-recorded footage. I couldn't risk nothing happening that was worth commentating on, but for some reason I still wanted to have footage of it, so I took some footage of it while I was doing something else. I think I was just in a call with friends, and then if this ends up being nothing, it can never see the light of day, and that's fine. And I've not, wasted too much energy in the process of it. But there is... Our little son is going to turn into a clown at some point. And I'm not watching the footage alongside recording this. I don't know when the clown's gonna show up. But there's gonna be a clown, and you need to see the clown now. So you're gonna, unless you're not looking at the screen for whatever reason, in which case, how dare you contradict my will? The ramifications will be severe. It's fine as long as you know there's a clown. If you picture a clown in your mind, it's that one. You better picture a good clown now. If you're picturing just a shit clown, I'm gonna fight you in your sleep. Alright. I know I'm not a fighter. I'm not gonna risk you being conscious. Listen, I'm not proud. I'm effective. But, so that's been my fun threat for the episode. Tune in next time for more. But now to the actual point. I don't really I'm just sort of free-forming this. I thought about, maybe, because we're quite near the end at this point, maybe giving some sort of summary of the game experience. The game experience. My voice is just fucking me. And I hate it. I hate what it's doing. Especially with all of these, I think I've talked about this elsewhere, but I happened to end up doing a lot of concurrent series that was just, had long stretches of nothing to talk about. Required quite extensive editing to make into a thing. So that the rare instances where I do have something to say, I don't appreciate that my voice has decided to betray me. But yeah, enough of me physically falling apart. It's time to fall apart analytically about a video game what I've played. I've had a lot of fun. This way. I remember having mixed feelings about it the first time I played it. I mostly just enjoyed it aesthetically. Coming back to it now, it's honestly not half bad. I've not played a huge number of Castlevania games. In fact, I think it's this and Lords of Shadow are the ones that I've played. Oh, and there was a bloody Castlevania fighting game on the Wii. With bloody waggle controls and everything. There's that. That was the first Castlevania I played. That's how I found out about the series. But yeah, there's a man in that who's off bandages, and I don't know where he fits in canon. But he's there, and I remember finding him somewhat Voldo-esque, apart from the fact that he can talk. But I'm just thinking about Voldo. What a good boy. Anyway, the game is good that I've played. It's been kind of awkward towards the end of the series where we've already made most of the... I think if I had been less bothered about getting everything, the series would have gone smoother. Unfortunately, I want to record everything for posterity, I guess. Like, I don't want to have to go elsewhere to look it up because I've just got this horrible paranoia with anyone I look up on YouTube that they might secretly be a Nazi or openly be a Nazi and still be getting money from YouTube like they like to do. But there's little point complaining about it now because I've already recorded up most of it. And I've just got to go into the boss room at this point. Once we've seen the last few pumpkins that I've got here. And they're all very good. I still think giving us a pumpkin right at the end that doesn't do much and can't withstand much punishment. Bit of a dick move. I'm still curious about the one final pumpkin who we need a specific weapon for that I don't know how much of an opportunity we even have to use it after the only point in the game where we can acquire the material for it. If we can even wangle that, because it's also incredibly difficult to get. The stealing window is unreasonably small, but there you go. That's these games for you, isn't it? They do a lot of... They take liberties. And that's something I sort of appreciate slightly less about this game, is that it's still taking those liberties inherent in the design ethos of, like, early games in general. Like, I don't think it's even unique to Metroidvania stuff, but, like I looked up some weapon things to do with this game, just to see if, like, there was anything else that I could go looking for, like, any excuse to, like, have something to do while grinding pumpkin variations, essentially. And, like, guides and stuff literally refer to stuff. I think it was the claws specifically, you know, the hooks. The hooks that you swing with a miracle egg. It specifically referred to that as a trap item. Like, there's weapons in the game that are there specifically to waste your resources, seemingly, and are useless otherwise. Why? Like, it's just... And it feels like half of the items have been that. You know? Like, why do it? It just seems like so... One, I would almost understand. Like, in as much as I absolutely wouldn't get why you did it. But since it's just the one, it's not really worth picking the fight over. When it's this widespread, I kind of have to ask what's wrong with you. That you've made a game do this to me. Like, it's just, it's... And particularly someone who's fond of his, I like novelty weapons in video games. I'm very big on games that have, like, weapon variety. It's one of the things that attracted me to Dynasty Warriors. It's one of the things that attracted me to... It's one of the things I really like about later Devil May Cry games. And so this just feels like kind of a slap in the face. Like, particularly in my... Because I want fun weapons and I want to be able to use them and not feel like I'm just wasting my time. And here they are, seemingly deliberately wasting my time, or at least that seems to be the consensus. But yeah, there's a lot to like, and then just a lot that needs to be sort of phased out. Like, there's some very ancient, like, haha, I'm a video game, fuck you, that needs to be... Like, I can't remember how much of that there was in Bloodstained, because I don't have a particularly vivid memory of Bloodstained, which is kind of a shame, because I backed that on Kickstarter for kind of a lot of money. But I mean, it was mostly just a fuck you to Konami. Like, I just any talent that wants to leave companies like that is to be encouraged. But And he threw that wine glass, so what, you know, what's a homosexual to do? But, I could swear there was a point to this. I don't know, I've lost my train of thought. I'm gonna eat some crisps. They're not crisps, but they're snacks for the curious. Pea and bean sticks. Made with real vegetables. Pinto beans, potato, green peas, and white beans. They're actually not bad. I've been getting into stuff like this recently, not for any kind of like being worried about eating healthy reason. I have a compromise, basically, with the part of my brain that wants me dead. But just like they're genuinely quite good. And I know that now because I'm not a coward. I like to munch. And so I like finding new things that are good to munch. And these happen to be one of them. Hooray. Some lovely Foley of me biting some real vegetables in tube form for you there. I'll have one more and then I'll stop bothering you in your ears. I apologise if this is the squick for anyone listening. Sorry about that. Or alternatively, if you're into that, you're welcome. Don't let me know. You know, because then it's weird. But yeah, I will eat vegan food on its own merit sometimes, because it's just good. I'm not a vegan myself, because there would be no point. The animals are already dead by the time I eat them, and as for, you know, me not buying them will not reduce the amount that's produced, because, you know, food waste is already a thing. Like, supermarkets throw out tremendous amounts of stock. They just destroy anything they can't sell and continue production at the same rate, rendering my personal lifestyle choices completely meaningless until the corporate root cause is addressed. I don't say this to look down on vegans or mock them in any way. It's just, it feels kind of insidious the way you're sort of being taken for a ride. It's like how the plastic companies pushed recycling knowing full well that it wasn't viable. The quality of the plastic degrades too much after like a couple of repurposings. Like, they knew they weren't going to do it. The majority of, you know, quote-unquote recyclable plastic just sits in a separate landfill. Yeah, the whole thing was about image. Plastics were getting a bad rap at the time, and so they pushed the recycling narrative to combat that, and it was wildly effective. And as it turns out, pretty much entirely untrue. Certainly wildly overblown in terms of what was actually going to, you know, be accomplished. Because of course these plastic companies want to continue selling virgin product. Like, they were never going to let this be its own self-sufficient ecosystem where they weren't needed anymore. So they just lied and got away with it. And this sort of just feels like that, like, you know, like the bloody carbon footprint idea. You know, get an energy-saving fridge or whatever. When like 70% of emissions are corporate, like trying to squeeze blood from the stone of like private citizens is not really going to address the problem meaningfully. The one thing I will concede in that department is fewer people using cars, like some manner of like personal vehicle like that, makes sense as a solution. Like, even just from a like local air pollution standpoint. But again, like, you know, don't get on an aeroplane. it turns out the aeroplanes will run with or without you on them, because as we saw at the start of lockdown, when international travel was just completely stopped, somewhere in the news story was airports specifically somewhere in Europe were still, I want to say it was Germany, don't hold me to that, but they were sending out 80% of their flights still empty, with no one on them. And the reason for this is because if they don't send at least that many flights out, the airline loses their right to that space, that hangar space, the right to operate there. Nobody thought, let's maybe suspend that while we know there's going to be zero demand for this service. But yeah, it's really just a handful of people causing the majority of the problem. The imbalance is comical, but they keep pressing the narrative that it's sort of the personal responsibility of all of us, to cover up the fact that they're causing most of it. Sort of like how American service industry workers basically have to live off tips, and that's just accepted culturally because in a move of evil genius, these companies have managed to wangle it so it's just accepted that the onus is, instead of your employer, looking after your financial stability like they're supposed to be obligated to do, the onus is now passed on to the customers. So, if they don't pick up your boss's slack, they're the arsehole now. And then, meanwhile, the company itself pockets more money than either you or the customer will ever see in one place. This took a fucking turn. What was that? Veganism, I think, started this. I also do understand if, you just don't like the idea of eating a thing that would a part of an animal. And I understand that to a certain extent, because, I love animals, but a lot of the animals I love kill and eat other animals, so, the idea of that kind of has to not bother me. I seem to have hit that point in my commentary, so the energy's getting a bit weird. I reckon this'll be enough audio for the main bits to be seen. So, thank you for putting up with this. I'll definitely be whacking a 0.5 on this one at the very least, and I'll see you next time for, I don't know if it'll be the final episode, but certainly, we're in the actual home stretch now, so be excited for that, and I shall see you next time. Bye!